something like 500,000 gallons per day. And in one part of the path, the pipeline is going through sacred Native American burial sites and going through lands, breaking treaty rights, basically violating federal law. And at one point it crosses underneath the Missouri River. So if it happened to leak, it would contaminate the Missouri River, which is the main source of drinking water for about 8 million people. And it eventually connects to the Mississippi River. So that would go all the way down through the Gulf of Mexico. So the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation is in the southern part of North Dakota. A friend and I don't know if John's here, but traveled there this weekend to kind of lend our help and support to go there. And basically it's a occupation that's at least 7,000 people last time I heard. So there's multiple camps set up there, and the main one, it's almost like, it's really cool to see, but it's like almost like a small city, because there's each area has its own thing to do. And while I was there on, Saturday, we had to go through what was direct action training, because if you haven't done the training, you're not allowed to join the actions that the camp does, because they want to make sure the message is unified, make sure people don't split off, do their own thing, make sure everyone's on the same page. So yeah, there's the main camp, and within there are small warrior camps that are the ones who basically plan the actions. And you have to do the training, because when you go there, you have to kind of, depending on the reason you go, because some people go there, I noticed kind of 3 different groups of people. There were the tourists, which are people who kind of just went there so they could post on Facebook and say they were there, take pictures, say they were part of it, but then really went, ate the food, used some of the resources and left. Which are, I think, the most detrimental to that. But that's something really different. Then there's the second, where the people who are there just to be activists. And while it's great to be an activist, if you're showing up and being like, I just want to help, but you don't have any kind of guidance or idea what you're doing, you really need to take a step back from that and think, how do I fit into this? And the third are the people who are there for the cause, which is to protect the water. And you can kind of see a difference between the two people, the activists and the actual water protectors. But anyway, the point of the training is, the main message was, get a role in the movement and then stick to it. Do not deviate from it, from whatever. So when you're on your way there, suppose you're going there tomorrow or something. When you're on the way there, think of your strengths, think of the skills you have, and what you can do with it. So while I was there doing the direct action training, I marked myself as not arrestable, because I have some stuff here I can't get arrested for. So they have rules where you're not going to get arrested, supposedly. But each person gets roles, and then you just have to stick to it. So for me, I was being trained in as a de-escalator. So if people were getting really heated up, people were ready to do basically where they weren't calm, it would be my job to step in and be like, yo, hey, calm down. I know it's difficult, et cetera, et cetera. So if we were to go to an action, there weren't any actions that happened, but I guess there was one today, so I'm disappointed. I couldn't go to that. Yeah, the most important part is just to kind of remove yourself from the situation and kind of be like, I am now this. And it feels weird to be like, well, I'm no longer me, I'm now a body in this. But if that's what's needed by the people that are running and doing that action, you kind of have to be expected to do that. So, for example, the warrior camp that gave us our presentation, people who spoke to us, like, they wore bandanas over their face, because if you're considered an organizer of a movement, then you can be held without bond when you're put in jail if you get arrested. So they would cover their faces, so no one knew their identity, so they couldn't be considered an organizer. And they didn't even use their real names. And one of the cool things was that one of the presenters doesn't use her English name when she's there, so she refers to her name in her language, which translates to killer of men, devourer of souls, which I think is the most badass name ever. But they spoke to us, and they're the kind of the main camp, the warrior camp that sets up all the actions. And if they make a call to action, then you know it's legit, so kind of get there and get ready. And one thing, I think it was on Wednesday of last week, there was an issue where I think like 50 people went to a site and at least half of them got arrested. That one was not sanctioned by one of the warrior camps. So it was kind of like a bunch of people who were just like, yeah, we're here, let's do something, but then didn't have any guidance, didn't have any rules, And so they got surrounded, wound up backing up into a one-way street and kind of just got surrounded by police and were arrested. When the warrior camp make like a call to action, they're talking about like 1,000+ people at one time. So to have 50 people go to a site, that's easily arrestable, but when you have 1,000, basically 1,000 Indians going to one area, it freaks people out. That was pretty neat. But in order to not be a tourist, at that place specifically, have your roles not only at the action but outside. So for instance, my friend and I worked in the donation camp, so we were kind of sorting the donations that were put to the camp and then made sure they went to the right places. That way we weren't just sitting there and being Facebook pictures. But yeah, I think that's basically the points that I wanted to make.
Yeah, and that's one of the things to remember is that role. And so talking about what you decided you wanted to do.
Thank you.
I had friends when the 1999